So this is how long I've got. First rehearsal one day prior to the gig. No, it's not the first rehearsal. I have done it before. I have read it, but I'm just trying it out with the mic and with the prompts. So, yeah. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Even though there's absolutely nobody here, thank you for coming out and supporting this. As Graham said, my name's Nik Hill. This is my first 30-minute show, and it's a work in progress show. So basically, what that means is some of it will be all right, some of it won't, some of it needs working, and some of it needs ditching. But that's just the way it is. But it's nice to see we've got such a diverse audience in this evening in the Falklands Cricket Club. We can do a little bit about that, and we can do some audience type of stuff. So that'll be all good. I might just turn this up, so I'm not sure how that's gonna record. Okay, let's just put that up a little bit. Should be all right, but you never know. So because it's a work in progress show, I have actually got some prompts in front of me. That's the show basically there, which is great. Apart from the fact that I haven't written it quite possibly large enough for me to actually read. And one of the biggest issues I have with this was actually getting the music stand set up in the first place. That was Anyway, it's nice to be here because you don't always know what you're gonna get. I did a gig, little village near not near Swindon. Don't say Swindon. Little village near Cirencester a few weeks back, and I just went on and said, "Lovely to be here in Ashton Keynes." Straight away, this woman at the back put her hand up and said, "Excuse me, young man. I know it's spelled Keynes, Keynes, but here in the village, we prefer to pronounce it Keynes. Is that okay?" I said, "No, that's absolutely fine. I've got to be honest, it does make you sound like a bit of a pretentious cunt." I've not been invited back. I did a gig the following day in Swansea, 100, I don't know, 130, 120 miles. I'm not sure how long, but I think the MC had overdosed on too much live at the Apollo, because I was backstage waiting to go on, and I could hear him out front. He's like, "Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to go wild, whoop, holler, as we welcome to the stage the wonderful, the fantastic, the brilliant Nik Hill." Right, it made me sound like an Indian doctor, Nik Hill. And I went on, and there was 4 people sat there, just, grandmother and mother, son in the middle. Both ladies were distraught because the son was going in the army. So there was, just let's leave him alone. "What's your name, mate? What's your story?" He said, "My name's Roger Moore." I thought, brilliant, comedy gold. Then he said, "But I've got mental health issues. I really don't know what I'm doing here." I thought, and I told him, I told him the story about Ashton Keynes. And I realised I've missed a bit out about Leclarde. Because if you don't do that bit, the rest of it doesn't work. Anyway, there we go. So when Graham first approached me, said, "Nick, would you like to take part in the West Berkshire Comedy Festival?" I said, "Yes, that would be brilliant. What do I need to do?" He said, "Well, you'll be on a support to Love Dev. So basically, you'll need your own show of about 30 minutes in length." I said, "Well, I haven't got 30 minutes. He said, "Well, how long have you got?" I said, "Well, it just depends how quickly I talk, to be quite honest." But in that moment, the actual title, "How Long Have I Got?" that came to me. And so the show is entitled "How Long Have I Got?" And it's got 2 meanings. So in comedy, quite often what you'll see, you'll get more inexperienced acts. They'll be halfway, they'll be doing their stuff, and then they'll turn to the MC and say, "Oh, how long have I got?" Because they haven't bothered to time their set, so they don't know. This needs to be really close to make any real impact. If it's close, that makes a big difference. If you pull it away, if you pull away, you can't really hear. That's much better if it's up close. But I don't like having it close. So, but they'll say, you know, how long have I got? Because what you don't want to do, especially in comedy, and just life in general, is outstay your welcome. You know, and we all know people like that, don't we? You know, we've got you've got sort of in-laws, kids coming back from uni, people at a party, and it's getting late, and you'll say, "Oh, would you like one last drink before you go?" Hoping they'll say no, then they say yes, and then you've got those other people, you know, the people you meet on holiday, and it's just a British thing. Oh, do call in if you're passing, and then they do. I mean, in the old days, it was so easy because you could just give them a false name, address, phone number. They'd never be able to trace you. But now, with the advent of social media, like they are like the Liam Neesons of the holiday world. I will hunt you down, I will find you, and I will come in and you will make me a cup of tea. You know, the holiday buddies. And if you've never experienced anybody come into your house as a holiday buddy, then you are that holiday buddy. And then there's people who there's never enough time. We don't get enough time with, collectively called doctors. But that's more for later. But for tonight, how long have I got? When Graham said, well, how long have you got? That sort of inspired me, because to me it's like, well, how long have I got left on this earth? Because we don't know, do we? None of us know. I mean, I'm sure we all know people who were taken way before their time, suddenly with no notice. And people say, well, what you should do, you should live each day. You should live each day as if it's your last, right? So for the past month, I've been eating steak every day, steak and chips every day, drinking 4 bottles of red wine, eating loads of ice cream, and now my cholesterol's through the roof and I'm on statins. And the trouble is, like, there's just so much. There's so much to remind us that realistically, we don't know how long we've got left. I mean, TV, daytime TV, doesn't help. Does it? I'll sit down in the afternoon. The first thing that will come up is women in advertising walk-in stair lifts. Then women advertising walk-in baths in their one-piece swimsuit. When I was younger, when I was about 15, 16, I had a thing about older women, and they could be 10, 15, even 20 years older. I'd still find them, you know, really attractive. But that ratio now I'm 67, that just doesn't come across at all. Oh, that bit's fucking shit. But you've got to be prepared. We've got a notebook. We've compiled a book at home called When I Die, and basically, it's a list of all the things we each need to know that perhaps we don't know at the moment. Like, so for me, my wife's put instructions how to use the washing machine, how to use the Hoover, how to adjust the heating, the banking and council tax bills and all that sort of stuff. And I said, what do you need to know about me? She said, well, there's only 2 things. I said, what's that? So I want the PIN number for your phone and your laptop. Right, well, that's not happening, is it? Okay, so this is going to have to be bigger. This is going to have to be bigger because I can't read this. And the kids chip in. You know, they remind us. They'll come round and they'll say, is that a new vase? Or something. Yeah. Don't buy any more death ornaments. Sorry? Yeah, the death ornaments, you know, because we're the ones that are going to have to clear up when you've gone. You keep buying all this crap. And I know they've got a point. And I've got to the stage where they come round now. I like wine. I've got to be honest, I do like winding them up. Like, because we'll get the conversation round to money and spending. And the one phrase that seems to drive them absolutely insane is, well, you know, you can't take it with you. And they're like, no, but you could leave it for us. No, 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 no. We're going to just blow your inheritance now. So I mentioned doctors earlier on, and my wife thinks I've got health anxiety, and I don't know, maybe I have. And again, it's just part of this. How long have I got? Because I'll get the slightest little twinge, and straight away I'm onto that brilliant medical research tool, Google. We've all done it. Never Google anything because it all comes to the same thing. Yeah, you're gonna die. You're gonna die. But I will book an appointment at the doctor's. I mean, back in the day, it was all different, wasn't it? Because doctors would do house visits. They come to your house, and I can remember, back in the 60s, if the doctor was coming, Mum would have to clean the house from top to bottom the day before. He'd be treated like royalty, and it was always a he. Back in the day, knock on the door, Mum would open it. There would be the doctor. She'd curtsy. She'd made him cucumber sandwiches with the crust cut off, tea in a bone china cup, and then he'd be shown upstairs. Yeah. Spend hours alone with a patient that was probably barely conscious. I wonder why house visits were banned. But it's all changed in medicine, hasn't it? Now? I mean, just trying to get an appointment is bad enough. You've got to get past the Gestapo interviewer on reception. So what's the matter with you? Well, I don't know. I just don't feel right. That's why I need to come. Because when you get there, I don't know about your surgeries, but we've got one of those sign-in. So you enter your name, you put your date of birth, you put male or female, enter your date of birth, and it says, "Are you Nicholas Hill?" Yes. And I was there the other day, and this old lady come up, and I could see her putting her date of birth in, and she was tutting. See her doing it again, tutting. So, you okay? Yeah, I'm not on here. So what's your date of birth? Okay, there you go. Alice Jones. No. I said, well, is that your date of birth? She said, yeah. I said, well, there you go. Alice Jones. No. What do you mean no? She said, well, everyone calls me Dolly. So when you do get to see a doctor, he'll know you've been on Google. They all know. And they've got a stock phrase now. I don't know if you've experienced this. So tell me, what do you think's wrong with you? And then you proceed to tell him, and it could be the most bizarre thing that you found, but you think you might have it. And he'll tease you. You go, yeah, could be that. And he leaves you hanging. And you're panicking, thinking, oh my God, I am going to die. Yeah, it could be that. Highly unlikely. Oh, and I reckon they've got a WhatsApp group that they post on each week for the most stupid diagnosis. It goes to all the doctors in the UK, and on the Friday they just get together. But I'll go even if there's might not be anything wrong with me. Like, so I went last year, and I booked the appointment, and I went in, and the doctor said, so what do you think's wrong with you? I said, well, I've come for a prostate check. Oh yes. Now that concerned me, because he should have had that on his notes. And he said, what are your symptoms? I said, well, I haven't got any symptoms. And he got quite agitated. You haven't got any symptoms, yet you've come for a prostate check. I said, yes. He said, you do know what it involves, don't you? And at that point, I was half sort of tempted to say, no, enlighten me. But I thought, well, you're clearly not in a bad mood. He could do anything to... Anyway, I had the prostate check done, and he said, yeah, I think it's fine. Your prostate feels squidgy. Is that good? Oh, yes, definitely, yeah, good. If it's hard, that's a problem. He said, but of course, we could do blood tests just to make doubly sure. Would you like blood tests? I said, yeah, I would. He said, well, we'll have to do that separately. Okay. He said, so I'll book the appointment. He said, now, the night before, a few things you need to remember. No alcohol. I wouldn't have a heavy meal. No recreational drugs, no smoking, no sexual intercourse, and no masturbation. Okay. And when he said that last bit, he almost I thought he had a wink in it, and I went away thinking, was he indirectly calling me a wanker. But then I thought I was the one that booked an appointment to have a finger shoved up my bum when there was absolutely nothing wrong with me. So, as part of this thing about, how long have I got, I've started wondering about a few things. Like, what's going to happen when I go? Is there an afterlife? I don't know. What I do know is I've had a few strange things happen, which are sort of I can't explain. So the icy draft, the TV turning on, the wet patch, the lights, just some weird thing, and I can't explain it. And then I don't know, because that sort of led me on to question the whole God and heaven thing. And I've got to be honest, I sort of struggle with that whole creation business, because as kids we're told that God created the world in 7 days, and we just accept that, And if I can remember, said, well, how do you know? Well, it's written down. It's in the Bible. Well, okay. You could say the same things about newspapers. Just because it's written on paper doesn't mean it's true, does it? What I am absolutely convinced about, however, is that if there is a God, as sure as eggs are eggs, no way was he British. I mean, can you imagine that? A British God awarded the contract to create the world. Day 1, he's going to turn up late, guaranteed. Day 2, turns up on time, but at 10 o'clock says he's got to pop down to get some supplies, and can you give him some cash in advance? Day 3, turns up, does a full day's work, and you think, great. Day 4, absolutely no show, nothing. Day 5, turns up at 9 o'clock, doesn't mention what happens day 4. And at 12 o'clock, knocks on the head, says he's off down the pub with his mates. And then when you question, well, hang on, you've only got 2 days left to finish the world as per the contract. Don't work weekends. No. So there's no way it was God British. And I think there could only be one nationality that God could have been to have created the world and everything in it in 7 days. Polish. Absolutely Polish. But it's not just that. It's I don't know. It's. I mean, Genesis chapter 1 verse 3. The world was in darkness, and God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Just like they not even invented electricity. It was fine, and He created. If we believe it, He created all the, the whole thing in 7 days. Created all the. How did He come up with all the different names of the animals? Oh, what's that? Oh, it looks like a hippopotamus. Brilliant. What's that? Well, it's like a hippopotamus, but it's got a big horn on front. Rhinoceros. And then He started changing a few things, didn't He? Like, He created a horse, and He must have looked at it and thought, you know what? I think that would look really nice with some black and white stripes on it. Boom. Then He created a smaller version, the donkey, because He was thinking ahead. He knew that donkey was going to come in useful, because that donkey was the one that carried Mary to Bethlehem, wasn't it? And that whole Jesus, Mary, that whole Joseph, Mary, Jesus thing. Oh God! Is there any man in here that, if they got married and their wife was a virgin, and you got home after work one day and she said, "Oh, have a seat, love, I've got something to tell you," and she then proceeds to tell you that not only is she pregnant, despite the fact that you have not had sex, she's also pregnant with the Son of God. Is there any man in here that would have gone, fair enough? No. You go loopy. And we know nothing about Jesus' early years, apart from what's written in Luke chapter 2 verse 40. And the child grew and became strong, and he was filled with wisdom, and the grace of God was on him. He must have been a right little shit at school. If he misbehaved and the teacher said, "Going to punish you," he said, "I wouldn't. Get my dad on you." What, Joseph the carpenter? No. A real dad. And then, of course, his end was just horrific. So, all those things put together. I don't know if there's a heaven. I don't know if there's a purgatory. Pretty sure if there is, I won't be going. I'm more destined to spend my time in hell, or as we all know it, what it's called by its other name, Swindon. So how long have I got? People remind me, because they'll talk in code. They'll say things like, "Oh, you're looking well." What that really means is, "God be honest, surprised you're still alive." And I seem to be, I don't know how long I've got. I seem to be getting more accident prone. I'll just give you an example. I was really fell in the canal, and I was walking, and the swans kicked off, and I went to run. I tripped over the bloody dog, badly. I grazed my face, cut it quite bad. I had to go to A&E. They patched me up. The following week, I was messing about, balancing on a log, trying to be clever, fell off, smashed the other side of my face. Then a week later, down at the docks, wasn't looking where I was going, tripped over the dog again, fell and smashed him back into A&E 3 weeks in a row. And on the third week, as I was leaving, a nurse quietly slipped this leaflet into my hand. It was about domestic abuse, don't suffer in silence. I've started. I don't know. I've started doing other stupid things. Like, we went out for a walk, parked the car next to ice cream vans, and thought we'll have an ice cream when we come back. And when we got back, the car had gone, and I phoned the police, and I was just telling them what had happened, and before they got there, the ice cream man went, "Is that your car up there, mate?" I went, "Yeah, but it can't be that one because we parked next to you." He went, "Oh yeah, I've moved since then." We went to the cinema to get some. Not to get in. This is awful. We went to the cinema. So there's bits of this that aren't really about how long have I got, so I might have to cut some stuff out of it. So we went to the cinema to get some tickets, to see a film. I've lost the will to live with this. The other stupid bits don't work, so I'm going to take that out because that's not needed. So what I'm finding also now, which is another reminder, right, is I'm attending more funerals. And people say, they say, "Oh, he went, oh, it's a shame he went, but it's what he would have wanted," right? And I get that, because I want to die in my bed at home, asleep, and not know anything about it. Right, there's a little bit I need to put in there. Okay. About you know that bit when before you were born. No, will it be like that? Okay, so that needs to go in there. I want to die in my bed, asleep. Like, not in the middle of Tesco shopping. Not if I'm out driving with family or friends in the car. Certainly not during sex, because if my wife found out, she'd kill me. And I mentioned daytime TV earlier on. There's stuff on daytime TV that reminds me. Free life assurance for the over 50s, you haven't even got to qualify. Simple cremations and funeral plans. Right? I know a little bit about funeral plans because my mum had one with the co-op. And when she passed in 2019, I had to go in and sort it out as a last surviving son. And I went in and I'm talking to the woman. She said, come and have a seat. She said, no, before we start, how old are you? I said, I'm I don't know how old I was, 61. I said, what's that got to do with it? She said, well, have you got a funeral plan? I said, no. You should, because you could go at any time. Oh, great, thanks. But, Mum, and she said, do you know what sit entails? I said, no, not really. And she then proceeded to tell me about it, and basically said, look, if you give us £2,500 now, you can plan your whole day. You could be buried, cremated, you could decide where you want the wake, you could get people to wear fancy dress, you could decide if you want food, you could put some money over the bar, you could have a disco, a band, comedian, magician, anything you want you can have, and we can organise it. And by the end of the conversation, I was looking forward to my own death. One thing I do know is I certainly don't want to go the way Mum went, because she had dementia, okay, and she never seen me do stand up, and she sort of knew things weren't right, and she used to say to me, "Will you, when I've gone, will you talk about me?" I said, I don't. Is that really appropriate? She said, well, it'd be like a way of keeping my memory alive. So I always do this little bit about it, and I know there's probably people in this room that may have family or friends who are suffering with dementia, and just rest assured, this next bit isn't about getting a cheap laugh at their expense, because I know what a horrible and cruel disease is. And for those people that aren't aware of it, right, there's three fairly common traits. So dementia sufferers, first of all, they're very confused, right? But and they believe they're living in their own world. They believe everything that's going on in their head. Doesn't matter how bizarre it is. They get paranoid. Like, so Mum thought there was people living in her roof. There wasn't. They tend to lose things, but they haven't lost them. What they've done is, because of the people they think are in their house, they hide stuff and then they forget where they've put it. Like, Mum was forever losing bank cards and keys and they wander, right? And Mum had all three. Now, before I tell you the couple of things about this, I need to give you a bit of a backstory, because otherwise this is just going to make me sound like a heartless git. Okay, so when I was born, Mum wasn't in a good place, physically and mentally. She was an alcoholic, and she was drug dependent on sleeping tablet. God, no, I don't know why. I've never got to the bottom of that. But subsequently, I was taken away from her as soon as I was born, and I lived with my nan for nearly 4 years, and I wasn't returned back to my mother until nearly 4, and I had no maternal bond, which, in a way, in later life, was very useful to deal with how she was. And she was getting worse and worse with the dementia. And I've got to be honest, there were times when I thought she really would be better off dead than go through this. So I've missed the whole nun story out. Okay, that's fine. So I've missed the nun story out, and I've missed the is she dead, and then I can do the poor dog, and that will bring us back round to, of course I haven't been timing any of this, so Graham, how long have I got? Listen, thank you very much for listening. Still some work to do, I think, but that's okay. We can deal with that. This was hard, and clearly I've got to go back upstairs now and do some rewriting and take some stuff out and change this so I can actually read it, because I definitely can't read that, that's for sure. Okay, great.